Morning, everybody. Those who've joined already, welcome. Let's admit more. I think Ron is joining us. Stephanie, Tyler. Everybody's excited because it's Thursday and it's a day closer to the weekend. And you know what you guys usually want to do on a weekend? I suppose most of us, right? We just want to sit back and relax, chill with our friends, celebrate lockdown stage 1, which means that we can actually celebrate with more than one friend at a time, as long as we obviously still adhere to all the other requirements. How's everybody doing in general? How's week 3 been so far? Believe it or not, we're already. A couple more minutes just to make sure that the majority of us sign up. We'll join. We'll quickly take attendance, and then we'll progress to chapter 4, the second part of chapter 4. We've also split the slides into 2 sections. That was for various reasons, but mainly because last year we were into the half lockdown, and these this particular module was done, or chapter was done. We had to break it up in smaller sections to pre-record it, so it's remained in that particular format. Content is exactly the same, still there. Right, let's go to our first group, and let's see how many of you are here already. Lakanifo, are you here? Two people in the waiting room. Let's add them, Janice and Mia. Right. If you've missed the attendance, Corinne's joining us now. If you've missed attendance, just drop me on Canvas in the inbox. Just drop me a message, and I'll mark you present. I'm pretty sure you won't do it if you're not here. Anyway, Tyler's. I saw Tyler's here. Tyler, you're here, right? Not?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Tyler, you are here?
Yes, sir.
Marcus joined us? Not today. Natalie, you here?
Yes.
So is Warren. Chloe Jane? Not yet? Yes? Okay, Chanel, yes?
Yes, sir.
Jessica?
Yes, sir.
And so is Tamia. Caitlin, joined us yet? Wendy, I'm not sure about Wendy. Edwin. Ashley, I saw Ashley join us, and Franco is with us as well. Cornay, if you joined us yet? Not yet. Jessica and Tanika, I'm not. Tanika, Jessica, are you here? Jessica, I saw join the Zoom session already at 9 this morning, so I wasn't sure if she had the times and dates crossed. Tanika, you here? Not. Egan. I'm not sure if Egan is on the course. Ruan is definitely here, and so is Janice. Okay, that group's done. Let's quickly join Zandra. Zandra, I think, is joining us. Zandra, Marcus, thank you very much. Madeleine and Zandra, let me quickly add them. And then we go to the BCM group. The BCM group, Lindell, I know, is present, yes. Kaylee?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Kaylin, I think I saw you join. Kaylin, yes, no? I'm assuming that's a no. Madeleine, I know, is here. Manalise?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Danique? Johanny? Also haven't joined us yet. Okay, let's update that one. We'll quickly go to our final group. Thanks for letting me know, Marco, but on the Canvas list that I have your name. So that's the one that counts. So I'll just add you to this particular spreadsheet until we have a different way, or until we have changed our ways in taking attendance. So you haven't missed or haven't been marked absent for any classes that you have attended, Marco. Don't stress about that, yes. But as I said, like with most new programs, I don't think Therese is on the, Julie, are you here?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Devalt, yes, no? Assuming that's a no. Ruan, are you here? Not today. Stephanie, yes, definitely. Corinne, I saw.
Yes, sir.
Larissa?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Saska? Scott, I'm not sure if he's on the course. Okay. Just get back to what I was saying in reply to question from Marco, and any other students who find themselves in the same situation. I have a list on Canvas, which is the updated list that we received from the registrar. So I'm quite happy. To, and that list is updated because it's checked every week to see if there's any students who register late, or students who maybe have dropped off the course, or for whatever reason. So I know that that list is updated on Canvas, so that's the correct one. I will sync that list with the spreadsheet I have currently. So Marco, for instance, you're not on my class list, but you're on the Canvas list, and that's the important one. Okay, so that means that you're getting everything that you should. Let me just admit Kaylin and Stephanie, so they can be Caitlin and Stephanie. We've got 25 people so far attending out of a group of, I think, about 36. So it should be accurate with the majority being present. One thing I want to just make sure that that is brought to your attention is the following. I said to emails that some students have addressed to me since our previous class, that I will give you feedback before or on the or during this session regarding the submission of your first part of the assignment. Well, I'm going to give you feedback now, and obviously it's recorded in the Zoom session, and then when we're done, later during the day, I'm going to try and balance it in between load shedding, which we're experiencing at the moment, and that might be a reason why some of you are not able to attend or log into the session, is that we have feedback. I would at this stage, and because the assignment is due by the end of March, which is a couple of weeks away, 3 weeks away. And we're submitting in 3 different sections, or 3 parts, as we call it. Let me just get Jessica on board. The first one due next Tuesday, the 16th. Now, at this point, and I've spoken to as recently as 5 minutes before the session started with my program coordinator. That's the person I report to. That's the person who reports to the academic manager, and so on. And if we have the hierarchy, if you need to know how the hierarchy looks. And he was of the opinion, and he posted an announcement regarding the submission of assignments to his students today, and suggested that I do the same. Do not submit anything at this stage. There was a meeting last Friday, and we have another one, and some training that's happening today and tomorrow to ensure that everything is done correctly, because we obviously don't want to repeat the loading of results or your grades, so to speak. And therefore, there's 1 or 2 things that we just need to clarify, and it's more specifically about syncing the Turnitin into the Canvas page. So do not submit anything at this moment. There is no such thing as a penalty for late submission if it's not done by the 16th, because it's not your it's not an error on your side. It's something that we just need clarity on. So the assignment is open until the 30th of March anyway. So there won't be a late submission date if you do not hand it in on the 16th, as long as all 3 parts are done by the 30th. The reason why we broke it up in smaller sections is that it's easier for you to do smaller sections. And when we're done with a certain part of the work, then you can also do that section of the assignment. Therefore, do not stress at this point. I know that some of you have emailed me and were concerned about what do we do and how do we submit, and you will be told exactly how to do that. I will be the one informing you. I'll be the one going through the process of instructions with you to ensure that you do it correctly. At this point, please, those who have done part 1 or part A, great for you. Just save it, don't submit it yet. Those who haven't done it, either do it and then also save it, or you can actually wait till later on. But the fact of the matter is, at some point, I'm going to say, right, it's all clear. You can submit the work that you've done already. At this point, do not worry about that. Okay. Any questions, final questions on the assignments and feedback regarding your questions? Let me just get Franco on board as well. Any questions by anybody in any of the 3 groups, the 2 in Belleville and the 1 in Centurion regarding this? Let me get Ruan on board as well. No questions? Right.
Sir?
If yes.
Sorry, I was struggling with my mic. So we are not, I want to say, required to then load the video onto Canvas yet. That can wait, I want to say, a bit still.
Yes, it can. You are not required to submit part A by the 16th, next Tuesday. That is basically the message I'm conveying at the moment. Those who have done it, fantastic, because it means that you have stayed with the pace of the module, but it's not required until I actually I will just confirm what I just said in an announcement this, when we finish with the class today. And again, you will not submit anything until another announcement goes out, and I have confirmed that announcement as well during a live class session. Okay, so at this point, don't worry about any submissions on your assignment yet. I think a lot of it was done. It was not necessarily prioritized by certain groups of the business, because the majority of submissions are only due in a couple of weeks' time. But I know that I've already had 1 session regarding this, and I've done that. And we have another one this afternoon and 1 tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock as well. So do not worry about any submissions at this stage regarding your assignment. Quizzes are different. Quizzes, but you won't be writing a quiz immediately or very soon. I think it's only after the next chapter of that we about reference groups that we will do our first online quiz. Right. Any other questions? No questions whatsoever? Good. We've got a good attendance today out of the potential students who should be here. So welcome those who've joined late. And some of you joined way earlier this morning already. This is now live. There weren't class at 9 o'clock this morning. It's only the third period today. Right. What I've started with chapter 4's second slide or section of slides. It is broken up into part 1 and part 2. We've done part 1 already. There's one slide from the previous page or from the previous group that I did not finish, and I want to just ensure that the transition from that part 1 to part 2 is done sufficiently. The work that was on that slide referred to specifically, and we were finishing off about how do you learn culture, and there were three very evident, very specific ways, formal, informal, and technical processes of learning that we've identified. But then also, you can learn from your own particular culture. That's usually done by family members who are part of the same culture as you, and we call that enculturation, E-N, enculturation, and as opposed to acculturation with the A. The difference between the two is, as I said, enculturation is where you learn from your own, culture, and acculturation is where you learn from other cultures or foreign cultures. In South Africa, since 1994, our landscape is as such that there's been a very strong drive towards learning from other cultures, because it has not happened in the pre-1994 apartheid era, because that's exactly what apartheid means, separate development, and that's not what's intended in our democracy. So a lot of cultural learning through the process of acculturation has happened, especially amongst the urban population, where there were obviously where the majority of your work opportunities lie, and a lot of people from different cultures meet each other there for the first time. So there's been a lot of learning about different cultures and exposure to different cultures, and hopefully acceptance of different cultures in the last 25 years of our democracy through the process of acculturation. What we also have identified, and that's what this chapter 4 is about, is not just about cultures, but also subcultures, where your subculture can very easily be identified as a distinctive group that exists with a specific identity within the larger cultural group. And it could be based on the geographical area where you find that you originate from or where you live in. It could be based on racial on racial groups, on your religion, on nationalities, or even language. We find that in South Africa, with the 13 different ethnic groups that we have, very often there's a specific regional area that is populated mainly by a specific language group, which is a subculture of a larger culture. Then subcultures and the importance of subcultures lie in the fact that they provide very important opportunities for marketers to segment a group that they can target with their marketing strategies, and they often design their marketing strategies based on specific subcultures. In South Africa, for instance, and we all know, that South Africa is often referred to as the Rainbow Nation. And we sometimes, and it is often used, especially by politicians, and who claim that the diversity that our country offers through its different cultures and ethnic groups is where our strength and our richness lies. Now, there would be people who will disagree with that, but we would say that people who are have similar cultures and similar beliefs and similar values and similar behaviors are going to be more united and stronger, and that's not necessarily the case. If we look at a football team or any team sport for that matter, there are certain individuals in certain positions based on the demands of that particular position that will just perform better as a result of their attributes. Let's say, for instance, I mean, we all, and those who have followed rugby followers would know that Beast Ntariwa was the number one rugby player in South Africa, and not just he is number one. Yeah, he carries number one on his back as well. So as a loose head front rower, he has a specific build. He would not be as effective if he had the number 14 jersey on his back, or maybe number 12 jersey on his back. So very often the differences combined, if they work towards a centralized goal, can be more effective and can be stronger. And as a result of that particular argument of strength and richness of our society lying in our diversity, does carry or is a very strong argument. Then, on the other hand, the South African culture and the different subcultures in South Africa have also been compared to a salad bowl, and the image of the fruit salad that you have in the top right corner is a very clear example of that. And what they mean with that is that when you make a fruit salad, for instance, or we can even make a green salad for that matter, every item in that salad, in this particular case, it's oranges and it's pears and it's strawberries and grapes. They don't change their shape or taste, but combined, they taste very nice. They even taste separately, they taste well as well. So that's why that particular analogy can be used for the South African cultural environment, because we have a lot of different subcultures in our society. They don't necessarily lose their identity, but combined, they obviously are more effective. So all the different ingredients of that fruit salad in its own right has a specific unique taste, and there are people who prefer just a particular, who don't prefer a fruit salad, but they'd rather have the individual ingredients and they like them individually. The melting pot scenario that is often used as well is, and that's why, I mean, it's called the melting pot, or why they use that particular analogy is I did a chicken potjie on the weekend for me and my family, and what we find very often, when you have the individual ingredients, they all have a different taste, but if you combine them and you actually put heat to it, like you do in a melting pot, is that some of the ingredients disappear or change their shape, but jointly all those ingredients combine to provide a very specific taste. And that could also be, that's another side to the different subcultures that we have in our country, just to put everything into place. So in other words, there's no correct way. South Africa is not necessarily a salad bowl community or a melting pot community. It's a combination of both, and again, some cases some recipes work better than others. As a very young democracy, 26 years old, turning 27 somewhere in April, um, you will find that a lot of mistakes are still made because a lot of these um, ingredients, if I can call the different cultural groups in South Africa that, are still trying to find some mutual ground. So we are still learning. We are very much still in a learning process. Right. Any questions at this stage? Right. Now, our beliefs and our values and our customs, that could only be deemed as an attribute of a society if a larger portion of a society actually share it. Now, these different cultures and subcultures are through a variety of social institutions or social mediums is transmitted to us, and family is very much one of those social institutions where you are born into a family, and as a result of that, by default, born into a particular culture as well. And usually, through enculturation, which is the process, like we said at the start of the session, you learn from your own culture. That is usually done via family, and your siblings, your brothers and your sisters, because they've been born and used to and exposed to and follow a particular culture and its values and beliefs. Then another institution that also play a very important role is our place of worship, which usually or supposedly or is supposed to provide us with spiritual guidance, and a lot of moral training happens in that particular place of worship, which obviously is different to different cultures, but it is definitely an institution, a social institution that contributes towards establishing a culture or exposing individuals to a particular culture. The mass media has a role to play as well, because we are exposed not just to specific products, but also to a variety of products and information about those products and ideas through the mass media, which is obviously not cultural specific. The fact is that our colleges, our universities, our schools, in other words, all our educational institutions, also play an extremely important platform of technical learning, where in a controlled academic environment, the basic learning, the learning of basic skills, as well as very often the history about your heritage as well as your cultures is done. It's an amazing opportunity to be able to, like you have maybe experienced only twice in your life, and that was when you went to school in grade 1, and when you changed from primary school to high school, between grade 7 or after grade 7 going into grade 8, where you're exposed to all of a sudden a new environment and new cultures that you have not been exposed to before. Very few of us, between our birth and the day that we go to school for the first time, are really truly exposed to a variety of other cultures than our own. When you get to your educational environments, as I said, like your primary school and your high school and your college, it happens on different phases in your life, where all of a sudden you've been your high school, grade 8, you've been in primary school for 7 years, and all of a sudden there are kids from other primary schools who's joining you in grade 8. So again, it might not just be people from your own culture, it could be from a variety of other cultures as well. And it happens again when you leave school and have the fortune of actually studying at a college or a university, where people from even a greater variety of cultures are all of a sudden in your class and allowing you the opportunity basically to get exposure to that and to learn. And that's the most important thing. You come to a college, you come to an educational environment to learn, not just about the, the basic skills and the knowledge um, for the field of interest that you have chosen and that you want in future to become your career, but also to learn from other people through their opinions and how they see things and how they interpret exactly the same information you get in a different way and why they do that. And it's a very important learning curve in any adult's life. I can remember, or I definitely have no friends that I'm still in contact with that I went to primary school with. I don't know where they are in the world. Um, I have maybe two or three that I'm still in contact with, but more sort of through social media platforms than on a contact basis that went to high school with me. But I have a lot of friends that I'm still in contact with, and that not just through social media, that went to university with me. So yes, all these platforms offer us um, great exposure to different individuals who often represent different cultures. Right. Now, there is a specific a relationship that is identified between ourselves and the cultural group that we belong to. There are two different schools of thought in this regard, and the one is referred to as the individualistic culture, and that is where the individual itself is seen as the basic unit and the source of life of this particular group. Um, you are not as dependent on or emotionally dependent on the other members of this particular group. In other words, you are very individualistic. You do conform with the values and beliefs of the particular culture, but you have an individuality and you're not as dependent on that group as maybe the collectivist culture would be, which is number two. With the individualistic culture, if you are categorized in that particular way, you'll find that you are definitely an individual who um, gets along with other cultural groups much better than the collectivist culture approach would, where they are very much dependent on the group providing them with a sort of a protection and the harmonious relationships that's formed within that group. They are very much dependent on. So there's not a lot of cooperation between different groups, but within the group itself, there's obviously a greater cooperation between group members. I think it was very clear from Monday evening's Oprah interview with Harry and Meghan that it was very difficult not just for them or for her going into a new environment and basically into basically into the royal family, that it's not that they frown upon outsiders, so to speak, for lack of a better word, but it was clear that once you have become part of that particular group, that they would supposedly back you all the way and have your back and protect you, which obviously is one of the reasons, one of the aspects that came out in the interview, that it wasn't really the case with her specifically. She did not experience that, which she really was at her lowest point, considering suicide. The support structure was not there. From a husband, yes, but not from the collectivist cultural group that the royal family forms, and yeah, that's one of the reasons why they've decided to actually break their ties with them, because you're supposed to support each other, and if you can't count on those people to support you in your worst at the worst time in your life, then yeah, find another group, so to speak, if I can use that those layman terms. Right, let's go to human values. Now, I think it was a psychologist, Grunet and Sherhorn, I think, were the ones who have identified these 5 important features about values, where they say that values are beliefs or concepts, and that values and these beliefs and concepts is definitely about a desired behavior, or a end state, as it is also called, where the ideal situation or point that you want to reach, and where you'll be completely content. That's called the end state. Values guide the choices, and it is definitely true that it does guide your choice in how you evaluate certain events and certain behaviors. That's why we form opinions about certain situations based on our beliefs and our values. And our beliefs and our values, obviously, from the previous or the first part of this chapter, we have identified is where your attitude is formed as well, where the attitude basically referred to how your beliefs and values are expressed in your thoughts and actions. And they're all interlinked as a result. And therefore, yes, your values is extremely important guidance when you when you have to evaluate a particular event as to, is it acceptable to you or not, and is a certain behavior by another individual acceptable or not. Again, let's look at what happened in America last year with all the racial tension that's there. Was the behavior of the policeman acceptable? No, for sure it wasn't. Even more so because it's race on race now, and it should never be the case. I mean, but regardless, that's not how a suspect, without any proof, but a suspect in that particular situation was treated or should be treated. That's just not on. It's not about race, but it becomes about race because obviously there's a particular set of values and beliefs that particular individual had, which made him behave in that particular manner. And obviously the reaction from the recipient is exactly the opposite. I'm just glad that after many years of all the atrocities that previous generations have done in South Africa, that it's now a world-known fact that it's not isolated to South Africa, and it still happens across the world, and it shouldn't. Period. Regardless, it's not even a discussion. But again, because we are dealing with different subcultures, it makes it very difficult for us to to make these judgments unless we know how much opportunity was provided for a particular culture to learn about other cultures. And I think that's where a lot of the solution lies. But it's not that easy because we learn over a period of time. We don't learn in 5 minutes, and we don't learn certain life lessons in 10 minutes. I often said that, geez, if I knew all the lessons I've learned in life when I was 23, now that I'm 56, it would have been easier. But you weren't ready to learn those lessons at the age of 23. We're going to cut this transmission short now and take our quick 1-minute break, and then we join again for the last 20 minutes of the session. Thanks, everybody. See you just now.